I watched the life drain from Evelyn's eyes as the hemlock tea cooled on the antique side table, her perfectly manicured fingers twitching one last time against the lace doily she'd picked out in Paris. It wasn't murder. Not in the biblical sense, more like pruning a weed that's choked your garden for decades. And God, did it feel biblical? Standing there in her McMansion kitchen with the stainless steel gleaming like a confessional under the recessed lights. Knowing I'd finally crossed the line she'd drawn in blood the day I said, "I do," to her son. But here's the hook that keeps me up at night. I didn't do it alone. Her own daughter handed me the cup, whispering, "Make it stop,
Sarah."
just make it all stop." That was the morning after Thanksgiving, 2024, in the sprawl of suburban Connecticut, where the leaves had turned to rust and the air smelled like wet wool and regret. I've been married to Tom Hargrove for 12 years. 12 years of swallowing barbs wrapped in southern drawls and passive-aggressive casserole drops. The Hargroves weren't old money. They were new money. The kind that came from Tom's dad, Harlan, flipping distressed properties during the '08 crash and turning foreclosures into gated enclaves. Evelyn, the queen bee, ran the family like a Fortune 500 with Bible study on Wednesdays. They called me the outsider from day one. Me, Sarah Klein, daughter of a Milwaukee auto mechanic and a schoolteacher who died too young. No pedigree, no trust fund. "You'll never belong," Evelyn hissed at our wedding reception, her breath hot with champagne, while Tom laughed it off as mama's jokes. But belonging? That was the lie they sold me. Tom and I met at Yale, me on scholarship, him coasting on legacy. He was all easy grins and lacrosse scars, promising the world in stolen moments behind the stacks in Sterling Library. We eloped in Vegas on a whim, thinking it was romantic, until the Hargrove jet touched down and Evelyn's face turned to ash. From then on, it was war by whispers. Sarah's not one of us. She doesn't understand our ways. And the worst? Tom deserves better than that Milltown grit. I took it. All of it. Because love's a blindfold, right? Built a life in their shadow. 2 kids. Ellie and Max. With my eyes and Tom's dimples. I quit my job in nonprofit housing to support the family, which meant playing step forward to Evelyn's iron fist. Luncheons at the country club where she'd accidentally spill the tea on my thrift store blouse. Holiday gatherings where Harlan would pat my knee and murmur, "You're a trooper, kid," like I was the help. But the real rot started festering 5 years in, when Tom got mixed up in Harlan's side business.
See?
Harlan wasn't just flipping houses. He was laundering cash for a crew out of Bridgeport, Russian mob light. The kind that dealt in ghost kitchens and crypto scams. Tom, fresh off an MBA, thought he was Gordon Gekko. One bad deal, a condo tower in Stamford that collapsed under shoddy bribes, and the feds came knocking. That's when the betrayal hit like a freight train. Tom panicked. Pinned the falsified permits on me. Who'd been signing off on nothing but grocery lists. "You're clean, Sarah," he begged in our panic room, sweat beading on his forehead like holy water.
No prayers.
No connections. Take the plea. 2 years probation. Community service. I'll make it right. Evelyn orchestrated it all. Her lawyer swooping in with NDAs thicker than her Southern Living cookbooks. "Family protects family," she cooed, while Harlan wired me hush money that barely covered the therapy. I did the time metaphorical bars, but they rust your soul just the same. Lost my security clearance, my reputation in the industry. Became the family scapegoat, the troubled daughter-in-law who made a mistake. The secret they buried? It wasn't just the fraud. Harlan had a bastard son from his college days, a kid named Ricky, raised in the projects, who showed up demanding his cut right before the bust. Tom confessed it to me in a whiskey haze. Dad paid him off, but Ricky's got dirt.
Photos.
Ledgers. If it leaks. Evelyn handled it her way, paid Ricky to vanish. But not before he roughed up a witness. A low-level accountant who ended up floating in Long Island Sound. They pinned that on me too. A heat-of-the-moment threat during my erratic phase. I carried it all. The weight of their sins. While they toasted at Christmas with Veuve Clicquot. Years passed in that toxic simmer. Ellie started pulling away. 16 and sharp as a switchblade. Echoing her grandma's snipes. Mom. Why do you always fight it? Just fit in. Max. 12. Buried in Fortnite to dodge the tension. Tom buried in his corner office. Affairs bubbling under like seismic rumbles. Interns with daddy issues. The kind Evelyn would approve of. I held on by threads. Yoga in the basement. Midnight runs through the neighborhood's manicured hell. Plotting escape routes that always looped back to him. Then came the call from Lila, Evelyn's golden girl. My sister-in-law. The one who'd inherited the charm without the venom. She was in rehab again. Third stint. Her trust fund evaporating like morning mist. Sarah, she sobbed over the line from some facility in Sedona. Mama's killing me. The pills. The lies. She's dosing me to keep me quiet about Ricky. Quiet about what? Turns out Evelyn hadn't just paid Ricky off. She'd had him institutionalized after he tried to expose the family books. Gaslit him into schizophrenia. Pumped full of Haldol until he OD'd in a state psych ward. Lila knew because she'd helped forge the commitment papers, 18 and ambitious. Trading her soul for a Birkin bag. That was the fracture. Lila flew back. Gaunt and feral. Crashing on our couch while Tom was on business in Miami. We talked for days. Chain-smoking Virginia Slims on the back patio. Piecing together the mosaic of their monstrosity. Evelyn's flip, the devout church lady who tithed millions while burying bodies. Harlan's decisions, dumping Ricky like toxic waste. Then crying prodigal son at Easter services. The controversy? They weren't monsters in capes. They were the PDA moms and Rotary dads who built America. One dirty deal at a time. And me? I'd been their convenient cross. Lila's whisper sealed it. She keeps a journal. Locked in the study. Everything, Ricky. The accountant. Tom's flings. Burn it. Or use it. But burning wasn't enough. Not after they'd carved outsider into my bones. We planned in shadows. 2 women against the matriarchy. The hemlock, Lila's touch, harvested from Evelyn's own herb garden. The one she bragged about in her Instagram reels. For the perfect roast, she'd say. Poetic. Right? I poured the tea that morning. Black as their hearts. Watching Evelyn sip it slow while critiquing my pie crust. Darling.
It's
adequate. Her eyes widened at the bitterness. But she swallowed pride and poison alike. Lila hovered in the doorway. Pale as a ghost. Her hand steady on the knob. As Evelyn slumped,
gasping,
I knelt close. Our faces inches apart. Mine calm. Hers a rictus of shock. You said I'd never belong, I murmured. Voice steady as a judge's gavel. Now none of us do. The 911 call was anonymous. From a burner. Paramedics swarmed the marble foyer. Sirens wailing like banshees through the cul-de-sac. Tom rushed back from wherever he'd buried his latest indiscretion. Face crumpling like wet newsprint. Harlan roared in from the golf course. veins bulging like map lines to buried treasure. Lila played the grieving daughter. Tears Oscar-worthy.
Me?
I was the rock, brewing coffee for the cops, my hands unflinching. But as the coroner wheeled her out in a body bag that cost more than my wedding dress, I felt the first crack in the facade. Not guilt. Justice has a bitter aftertaste, but the whisper of what came next. Because Evelyn's death wasn't the end, it was the opening act. The Hargroves had built an empire on secrets, and I was about to torch the foundation.
One lie at a time.
The funeral was a circus of hypocrisy. Black limos snaking through the gates of Willowbrook Cemetery like a funeral procession for the American dream. Rain slicked the graves, turning the grass to mud that sucked at our heels. Evelyn would have hated the mess. Her casket a custom mahogany number engraved with Psalms 23, lowered into a plot next to her mother's, the one she'd clawed her way out of poverty to afford. 200 mourners huddled under black umbrellas, country club widows in Chanel, Harlan's business cronies with Rolexes ticking like bombs, and the pastor from First Presbyterian droning about a life of grace, while I'd seen her slip a C-note to the organist to skip the offertory. I stood at the edge, arm linked with Tom's, his grip bruising as if he could anchor me to their sinking ship. Lila flanked my other side, her eyes darting like a cornered fox, whispering, "They suspect nothing." Yet, Tom was a wreck, hollow-cheeked, his Brooks Brothers suit hanging loose from skipped meals and blame. "Mama gone," he'd mutter at night, pacing our bedroom like a caged wolf, popping Xanax like Tic-Tacs. I stroked his back, murmuring sympathies, all while the journal burned a hole in my glove compartment. Evelyn's little black book of sins, leather-bound and monogrammed, pages crammed with dates,
Payoffs.
and doodles of nooses around names that weren't hers. Back at the house, their house, the sprawling colonial Harlan bought in '95 for peanuts and flipped into a monument, the wake unfolded like a bad episode of Dynasty. Finger sandwiches on silver platters, shrimp cocktail bleeding red into ice sculptures of doves. Harlan held court in the den, cigar smoke curling like accusations, regaling tales of Evelyn's philanthropy while his eyes scanned the room for leaks. "She was the heart of this family," he boomed, clinking glasses with men who'd laundered his dirty millions. I nodded along, playing the dutiful widow-in-law. But inside, the rage simmered, a pot left too long on high, waiting for the boil-over. That's when the first flip came. Lila cornered me in the powder room, mirror fogged from her frantic hand-washing. "Harlan knows about Ricky," she hissed, suds dripping from her wrists. "Evelyn told him before."
You know.
"He's tying loose ends. Starting with you."
Me?
The fall guy strikes again. Turns out, Evelyn's last call wasn't to Jesus, it was to her husband, spilling about the trouble with Lila and me, hinting at sabotage without naming the poison. Harlan's scheming brain clicked like a safe. Outsider plus grieving daughter equals motive. By the shrimp's third pass, he'd pulled Tom aside for a man-to-man, voices low but laced with venom. "Your wife's been off since the plea deal. Watch her."
Son.
Blood's thicker.
Blood.
That's the controversy they leaned on, the unspoken American gospel that family trumps all, even when it's poisoned. I'd borne their crimes.
But now?
I was the interloper with a grudge. Tom bought it hook, line, and hemlock, his loyalty flipping like a bad poker hand. That night, as guests thinned and the caterers stacked chairs, he cornered me in the garage, keys jingling like shackles. "What the hell happened to Mom? Sarah?" The talk screen's pending. but Dad says. Irregularities. His eyes, bloodshot and pleading, searched mine for the lie I'd buried deep. I could have confessed. Spilled the tea, literally. But revenge isn't a sprint. It's a marathon through moral quicksand. Tom, I said, voice honey over gravel. Your mother's heart gave out. Stress. The holidays. You know how she pushed. He deflated, pulling me into a hug that smelled of bourbon and betrayal. I can't lose you too, he whispered. Lies we both swallowed, because losing me meant unraveling the thread that held his world intact. Lila's role deepened the gray. She wasn't innocent, far from it. The night before the funeral, she'd confessed over smuggled gin. I spiked her wine once.
Sarah.
Just to shut her up about my failures. She laughed it off. Called it tough love. Tough love. Hargrove style, the kind that left bruises under cardigans. Lila's flip was survival. Evelyn's control freakery had her on a leash of lithium and lectures. But dosing her own mother? That's the line where victim blurs into villain. We were two sides of the same tarnished coin, plotting in whispers while the empire crumbled. The tox report dropped a week later, disguised as a preliminary finding in Harlan's inbox. No hemlock, Lila's sleight of hand with a lab tech, a cousin from her sorority days. Natural causes, the email read. But Harlan's paranoia festered. He started digging, hiring a PI from some no-name firm in Hartford, ex-cop with a mustache like a broom and a grudge against entitled brats. The guy tailed me to my runs, snapped pics of me at the library researching inheritance law.
Why?
Because Evelyn's will was a bomb, the bulk to Harlan and the grandkids, a pittance to Tom for his discretion, and zilch to me. Protect the legacy, she'd scrawled in the codicil. Legacy meaning the dirty millions. The offshore accounts Ricky had sniffed out before his suicide. I countered with a journal. Photocopied pages slipped under doors like anonymous valentines. First to Lila's dealer buddy, a tattooed whisperer in New Haven dives. Ricky wasn't crazy, he was right. Then to Tom's assistant, the perky one with the highlights. Your boss's flings? Mom knew. And approved. The flips accelerated, alliances shattering like cheap crystal. Tom confronted Harlan in the study, voices booming through the vents. You let Sarah take the fall for your mess? The condos. The bribes? Harlan's roar. She was disposable. You think blood means shit when the feds circle? Disposable. The word echoed as I drove the kids to school. Rain lashing the windshield like judgment. Ellie, sensing the storm, finally cracked. Grandma was mean to you.
Huh, like.
Mean.
I pulled over?
Hands trembling on the wheel, and told her the half-truth. She wanted us perfect. But perfect breaks people.
Much.
Oblivious in his headphones, sketched monsters in his notebook, Hargrove men with horns. The tension coiled tighter that weekend. A family summit at the lake house in the Berkshires, Harlan's idea.
To heal.
Cabins on steroids. With a dock where Evelyn once pushed Lila off for swimming lessons, nearly drowning her at 8. We arrived fractured. Tom sullen. Lila popping Ativan like candy. The kids glued to iPads. Harlan played patriarch, grilling steaks while dropping barbs. Sarah, pass the salt. You always were good at handing things over. The double entendre hung, thick as the smoke. Night fell, and the real summit ignited around the fire pit, sparks flying higher than the flames. Harlan accused Lila outright. You and that witch Dr. T? Mama mentioned herbs. Lila fired back, tears streaming. You institutionalized my brother, our brother, for a payout. Tom froze. The revelation hitting like a sucker punch. Ricky?
Dad.
You said he was a myth. Harlan's face twisted. The schemer unmasked. He was a liability. Like your wife. That's when I dropped the bomb, sliding a printout across the Adirondack chair. Journal excerpt glaring under the lantern light. The accountant's death? Not my threat. Evelyn's order. Signed in her loopy script. Gasps rippled. The fire crackling like laughter. Harlan lunged for it, but Tom held him back, eyes wild. Is it true? The silence stretched, broken only by loons calling across the water. Eerie. Accusatory. Harlan flipped. Denial to deflection. She protected us. All of us. But the seeds sprouted doubt, roots cracking the facade. As we retreated to cabins, doors slamming like guillotines, I slipped away to the dock. Journal original in hand. One match. And poof, evidence to ash. But I hesitated. The orange glow reflecting my face, avenger or arsonist. The line blurred. And that's the American tragedy. Revenge tastes like freedom until you choke on the ash. Lila joined me, shivering in her cashmere wrap. We finish it, she said, voice steel. For Ricky. For all of us. But as the embers died, I wondered, whose side was God on? Ours. Or the ghosts we'd summoned. The drive back from the lake house was a funeral dirge in minivan form, rain-smeared windows. NPR droning about election recounts in D.C. Tom white-knuckling the wheel while Ellie and Max bickered over AUX chord rights. No one mentioned the journal, but it lingered like exhaust fumes. Toxic and inescapable. Harlan stayed behind, tying up loose ends, which meant shredding files and calling his fixer. Lila rode with us, shotgun silent, her nails digging crescents into her palms. He's circling, she muttered when the kids dozed. Like a shark smelling chum. Tom didn't argue. The flip in him was seismic, loyal son to wounded husband overnight. I should have seen it.
Sarah.
The way they isolated you. Isolated? Try gaslit into oblivion. But his regret was a bomb.
Tentative.
Like touching a fresh bruise. We stopped at a diner off I-84. Neon sign buzzing, open 24/7 like a promise of normalcy. Over eggs and hash browns greasy as sin, he sketched a plan, divorce the family business, expose the laundering piecemeal. We start clean. For the kids. Noble. But naive. Hargrove blood ran thicker than Jersey asphalt. Back home. The cracks spiderwebbed. My inbox flooded with concerned emails from Evelyn's bridge club. Such a tragic loss. If there's anything. Subtext. We know you're poison. Harlan's PI escalated, tailing Lila to NA meetings, snapping her with sketchy types. She flipped proactive, leaking Ricky's commitment records to a blogger in Stanford, anonymous tip. But the post went viral on Substack, billionaire's dirty secret, family ties to psych ward cover-up. Comments exploded. Old money eats its young versus fake news, protect the innocent. The controversy ignited like dry tinder. Fox News picked it up, framing it as coastal elite hypocrisy, while CNN spun grieving families unraveling. Harlan lawyered up, issuing denials that reeked of settlement offers. Tom fielded calls from board members at Hargrove Holdings. Voices oily. Loyalty.
Tom.
Or the empire crumbles. He flipped again, pacing our kitchen at 2 a.m., phone in hand. They'll cut me out.
Sarah. No alimony.
No shares. The kids. I pulled him down, our bodies tangling in a desperate clutch, sex as sedative. Moans masking the math of ruin. But the real villain's dance was Harlan's. Schemer supreme. He played three-dimensional chess while we fumbled checkers. Monday morning, he summoned us to the office. Penthouse airy overlooking the Sound. Walls lined with Picassos that screamed, "I've got nothing to hide." Lila arrived late, makeup caked over hollows, and dropped the next bomb. Ricky's alive. Alive? The OD was staged, Evelyn's doing. Shipping him to a black site clinic in Mexico for reprogramming. Harlan's jaw ticked, but his eyes gleamed. Relief? Or calculation? Lies, he growled. Your mother's fever dreams. Lila slapped down proof, a blurry photo from a cartel contact. Ricky gaunt in a cell. For drip snaking his arm. Pay up, or he talks. Harlan's flip was masterful, rage to remorse in a heartbeat. What do you want? To us? Everything. But to her. Privately later, a wire transfer that drained her offshore slush fund. She took it, Judas silver burning her pocket, then confessed to me over takeout Thai. I needed it.
Sarah.
Rehab's not free. Gray area incarnate, victim turning vector. Her decision's a Rorschach test for morality. The tension peaked at Ellie's school play, a saccharine nutcracker, where she danced the sugar plum fairy. Tutu twirling under stage lights that mocked our shadows. We sat front row, Tom beaming, me clapping till my palms stung. Harlan in the back like a specter. Post-curtain, congratulations flowed. But his hand on my shoulder was a vice. Nice work keeping up appearances. But the blog? That's you. Isn't it? Deny? Useless. I met his gaze. Steel on steel. Appearances are all you have left. Harlan. He laughed. Low and lethal. Touché. But touch my family again, and I'll bury you deeper than that accountant. The threat landed. Controversial in its casualness, the elder statesman admitting fratricide over fondue. Tom overheard, pulling me away, but the seed of doubt replanted. Was I pushing too far? For what? Vindication in a world that chews up whistleblowers. That night, the house thrummed with unrest. Max wet the bed for the first time since he was 6. Nightmares of bad grandpas. Ellie cornered me in her room. Posters of Billie Eilish peeling like skin. Dad's cheating again. Isn't he? I saw the texts. My stomach dropped. Tom's phone. Unlocked on the charger. Messages from Vegas contact. Miss you.
Tiger.
Round 2. The betrayal layered. Fresh wound on scar tissue. I confronted him in the garage. Wrench in hand like a talisman. How many? Tom? How deep does it go? He crumbled, tears mixing with motor oil. Stress. Mama's death. The business. It's not. Not what? Not Evelyn's playbook? But it was affairs as armor. Flings as flips. I walked out, driving aimless through Hartford's sodium-lit veins. Radio blasting Springsteen, trapped again by the scheming eyes. Pulled over at a quarry. Journal pages fluttering in the wind. I lit one, flames devouring Ricky's entry. Catharsis? Or concession? Lila texted coordinates. A dive bar in Waterbury. Harlan's PI drowning sorrows. We met there. Shadows in booths. Plotting the next move. Leak the will, she urged. Show how Evelyn screwed Tom. Controversial. Airing dirty laundry in probate court. Pitting brother against sister. But it forced sides. Tom's loyalty to me solidified. A quiet vow over last call. We're out. Together. Harlan's scheme countered. bribing the blogger to retract. But too late.
The post metastasized.
Shares hitting 10K. Hashtags like Hargrove Hell trending in Connecticut feeds. The climax brewed at Thanksgiving Redux, a forced healing dinner at the McMansion. Turkey thawing under fluorescent hum. Harlan at head. Carving knife glinting. Lila's across. Foot tapping Morse code. Strike now. Tom squeezed my hand under the table. Kids oblivious to the powder keg. As grace ended, I rose, glass in hand, to family. The ones who betray, and the ones who burn it down. Harlan's fork paused midair. What's that mean, Sarah? I slid the full journal across the damask cloth, unburned, unredacted. Read page 47. Your orders for the sound. Gasps. Forks clattering. Lila flipped to Ricky. And 112, my brother's cage. Tom scanned the flings. You knew?
Dad.
Harlan's face drained. Schemer cornered.
For us.
All of it, for the legacy. The table erupted, Tom shoving back. Chair toppling, Lila hurling a roll like a grenade. Kids fleeing to the den. Screens their bunker. Harlan lunged for the book. But I held it high. Pages riffling like indictments. No more Fall Guys. His decision? Flip to supplication. Name your price.
Bonnie? No.
Justice, Ricky free. The laundering exposed. Evelyn's ghost exorcised. But as sirens wailed distant, anonymous tip to feds. Lila's doing, the gray swallowed us. Was this revenge or reckoning? Harlan on his knees. Empire teetering. Tom shielding the kids. Eyes on me like salvation. The twist loomed. Unspoken. Blood binds. Even in ruin. Feds swarmed the McMansion like ants on a picnic. Badges flashing under the chandelier's crystal tears. Cuffing Harlan mid-plea. This is a misunderstanding.
Agents.
Call my attorney. But the journal was a Rosetta Stone. Translations damning, ledgers in Evelyn's hand linking bribes to Bridgeport shells. Ricky's photo timestamped to cartel payoffs. Tom shielded Ellie and Max in the butler's pantry, his body a barricade, while I stood frozen in the foyer, the weight of what now crashing like waves on the sound. Lila vanished in the chaos, slipping out the French doors to the garden maze Evelyn planted for reflection. Ironic. Given the thorns. Cops grilled me first. Mrs. Hargrove. You see anything unusual? Unusual? A lifetime. But I played dumb. Voice steady. Just family drama. Harlan's always been intense. They bought it. Or pretended to. FBI's got bigger fish. And I was minnow with a grievance. Tom emerged, kids trailing like ducklings, his face a mask of shell shock. We packed tonight, he whispered, bundling us into the SUV as media vans clogged the cul-de-sac. Klieg lights piercing the night like accusatory fingers. The safe house was a bland colonial rental in Guilford, beige walls. IKEA furniture, ocean views that mocked our upheaval. We hunkered there a week, days blurring into takeout and therapy Zooms. Nights tangled in sweat-soaked sheets where Tom confessed more sins. The intern?
2 years.
Evelyn set it up. Test your commitment, she said. Test or trap. His flips layered like sedimentary rock. Dutiful son to complicit husband. Now penitent partner. I deserve the gutter, he'd murmur. But I'd pull him close. Whispering, we climb out together. Lies, maybe. Or the fragile glue holding our facsimile family.
Lila surfeist via Burner.
Holed up in a Times Square flophouse. High on adrenaline and Adderall.
Ricky est en route, Cartello Darlan a favor.
Flipped it for cash. Cash she skimmed. Her decision a razor. Freedom fund or fix. She wired half to a GoFundMe for abuse survivors, the rest vanishing into crypto. Controversial, thief or Robin Hood. The media frenzy dubbed her the Black Sheep Sister, profiles painting her as tragic heiress or calculating con. I watched from the rental's laptop. Comments a battlefield. She poisoned her own mom versus patriarchy's revenge porn. Harlan's scheme from lockup was vintage villain, jailhouse calls to cronies. Spinning the narrative. Entrapment by the wife and whore daughter. His lawyer, a silver-tongued shark from Stanford, filed motions to suppress the journal, obtained under duress, and leaked my plea deal to TMZ. Outsider-in-law's grudge turns deadly. The tabloids ate it, headlines screaming widow's web. Did Sarah Klein murder for millions? Controversy crested, pundits on MSNBC debating toxic in-law dynamics, while right-wing pods called me feminist fury incarnate. No one clean. All complicit in the cult of family facade. Tom flipped protective. Lawyering up separately. Shielding assets in trusts for the kids. You're not tainted, he insisted. But the PI's report landed, Harlan's mustache man detailing my erratic behavior. Midnight drives. Herbal purchases, hemlock flagged red. Cops circled back. A pair in rumpled suits knocking at noon. Mind if we chat? Mrs. Hargrove. We sat on the deck. Waves lapping like lies. As they probed, your mother-in-law's tea, any special blends? I laughed. Light as meringue. Evelyn was the witch in the kitchen.
Me?
I'm just the sous chef. They left unsatisfied. But the seed of suspicion sprouted. Ellie overheard. Cornering me in the bathroom. Did you hurt Grandma? Her eyes. My eyes. Accusatory mirrors. I knelt. Truth a tightrope. I hurt for her. Baby. The way she hurt us. Vague enough for 12. Sharp enough to scar. Max drew me as a superhero later. Cape of Flames. Journal a shield, but the kids' therapy notes leaked worry. Mom's strong. But sad. Lila's arrival shattered the stasis. Ricky in tow. A specter in hoodie and Tim's. Face gaunt as a depression photo.
28.
But aged to 40. Eyes darting like he'd seen Hell's DMV. Hug. Awkward fist bump. Heard you torch the queen bee, he rasped. Voice gravel from disuse. Lila beamed. Maternal in her mania. Family reunion. Hargrove style. We debriefed in the living room. Pizza boxes as table. Ricky sketching timelines on napkins. Dates of payoffs. Evelyn's signatures like spiderwebs. His story twisted the knife, abandoned at birth. Tracked Harlan at 18. Offered scraps then shackles. She said I was the devil's seed. He spat of Evelyn. Locked me up for knowing too much. Harlan's flip exposed. The prodigal tale a PR gloss. Reality a ledger line item. Ricky's decision? No revenge. Just restitution. My cut. Then ghost. But Lila pushed. Testify. Bury them. Gray again, justice or jackpot. The climax simmered at the arraignment. Streamed live from New Haven Courthouse. Harlan. Orange jumpsuit sharp as a blade. Pleading not guilty. His lawyer decrying kangaroo court. Reporters swarmed. Mics thrusting like spears. Tom and I watched from the rental. Hands clasped. But Lila crashed the gallery with Ricky, dramatic entrance. Her arm linked in his. Flashing the photo for cameras. Chaos. Bailiffs scrambling. Harlan's glare nuclear. Traitor, he bellowed from the dock. The judge banged gavel. But the damage viral, Ricky revealed trending. Stocks in Hargrove Holdings tanking 20%. Back home, the fallout fractured. Tom got the call. Board ousting him. Interim CEO, a Harlan crony. "It's over," he said, voice hollow. "Cracking a beer at dawn." I held him. But the flip nod. Would he blame me? Lila partied the win, dragging Ricky to bars, her highs crashing into blackouts. "We're free," she'd slur. But freedom's a drunk driver, swerving wild. My run that morning cleared the fog, pounding pavement past yacht clubs. Salt air stinging lungs. A burner buzzed. Anonymous text. "Harlan's PI. Walk away. Or the kid's school gets the talks alternate." Alternate? A planted report fingering me for the hemlock. The threat controversial. Extort the Avenger? But it forced my hand. Testify. Full exposure. Or fold. Evening brought the powwow, Ricky pacing, Lila pacing pills, Tom nursing grudges. "We end it," I said, journal remnants on the coffee table. "All of us." In court. Sides drawn. Tom for minimal damage. Plea it out. Lila for scorched earth. Ricky neutral. Eyes on the exit. The tension electric. Air thick as pre-storm hush. Then the twist shadow, a knock at midnight. Feds again. This time with warrants for Lila's phone. Ricky's prints. New evidence, the lead said. "Eyes on me." "Your sister-in-law's calls to the lab?" And Mr. Hargrove's, wait. Which one? Fresh from Mexico. Harlan's scheme. Flipped from cell. Frame the bastard as the bomber. Me as accessory. The room spun. Alliances fracturing like fault lines. As cuffs clicked on Lila, her scream operatic, I realized the gray abyss. No heroes. Just survivors clawing from the same grave. Tom's hand in mine. Cold as marble. "What now?" he whispered.
Now?
"We fight dirty.
Or drown."
Lila's arrest hit like a sucker punch to the gut, handcuffs glinting under the porch light. Her mascara rivers as the cruiser taillights faded into the coastal fog. "Sarah, fix this," she wailed. But the door slammed on please, leaving Ricky slumped on the stoop, hoodie shadowing eyes that had seen too many cages. Tom bolted inside, phone to ear, lawyer on speed dial, while I stood frozen, the anonymous text burning in my pocket like contraband. Harlan's reach. Octopus tentacles from county lockup, wrapping tighter. We bailed her out at dawn. $50,000 wired from Tom's dwindling accounts. The bondsman leering like he'd won the lottery. Lila emerged feral. Hair matted. Blaming everyone. "Ricky, you talked. Feds squeezed you." He shook his head. Silent storm. Cartel flipped. Harlan's dime. The betrayal layered. Illegitimate son turned informant. Or pawn. His flip was survival. Whispering to agents for immunity. "I just want out." Controversial. Snitch or self-preservation. America loves its rats. Until they nibble the hand that starves. The safe house turned siege. Blinds drawn against news vans circling like vultures. Ellie homeschooled via Zoom. Her fairy wings traded for anxiety meds. Max built Lego fortresses against invisible foes. Tom paced circuits. His corporate polish cracking, stubble shadowing jaw. Eyes hollow as stock tickers in freefall. "We countersue," he growled over coffee black as our prospects. Defamation. Emotional distress. But the lawyer's callback was grim. "Harlan's painting you as the mastermind."
Tom.
Journals forged. Your wife's grudge the motive.
Grudge.
The word weaponized. Splashed across New York Post. In law from hell. Widows plot to topple tycoon clan. Pundits picked sides, feminists cheering smash the patriarchy, conservatives decrying woke witch hunt. No nuance, just tribal howls. I scrolled in the bathroom, steam from the shower veiling tears, wondering when Avenger became villain. The secret-eyed born, the plea, the frame, now public porn, my mugshot from 5 years back, trending with eggplant emojis. Ricky broke the stalemate, cornering me in the kitchen at midnight, knife block glinting like Temptations. You started this, he said, voice low thunder. For what? A seat at their table? I met his gaze, unflinching, for the chair they yanked out. He nodded.
Slow.
The bastard's recognition. Hargrove blood. Diluted but potent. His decision? Ally up. I testify true.
No scripts.
But Lila, fresh from holding, flipped venomous. Snitches get stitches. Brother dear. She lunged, nails raking his arm. A sibling scrap that drew first blood in our fragile truce. The feds reconvened us in a fluorescent hellhole, New Haven field office. Vending machine coffee tasting like regret. Lead agent. A no-nonsense broad named Vasquez. Slid folders. Wiretaps. Harlan's jail calls to the PI. Bury the Klein bitch. My name. A slur in transcript font. He's framing you for the poisoning, she said. Eyes appraising. Alternate talks. Hemlock traces in your yoga tea stash. Planted. Obvious. But the optics?
Damning.
Tom's flipped to fury. My father? This low. Vasquez shrugged. Blood's messy. You in. Or out.
In.
We signed proffer letters. Spilling guts for leniency. Tom on the condos. Me on the frame-up. Lila on the commitment forgery. Ricky on the cartel cash. The scheme unraveled Harlan's web.
Threat be damning threat.
But the gray deepened. Vasquez's side-eye at Lila. Your prints on the cup? Hinting complicity. No one spotless. Confessions a confetti of sins. Climax brewed in court. Preliminary hearing turned circus. Cameras barred. But sketches leaked. Harlan glowering from defense table. Lawyer a barracuda in pinstripes. We testified in tandem. Voices overlapping like a Greek chorus. Tom's, I was blind. My, they broke me first. Lila's, she deserved it. Ricky's monotone facts. Harlan's cross? Masterful flip. Tears for the jury. My wife. Gone too soon. These vipers circle my grief. Jury murmurs. Some nodding, the patriarch plea. Evergreen American. But the twist cracked open mid-recos. Bailiff escorts in a juror note. Anonymous tip. Witness tampering. Vasquez hauled us to sidebar. Face granite. PI's dead.
Car bomb.
I-95. Harlan's print on the detonator. No Lila's. Her flip exposed. In panic. She'd hired a thug from her dealer network to scare the PI. Botched into blaze. I didn't mean, she sobbed. Cuffs fresh. Ricky recoiled. You? After Ricky? Wait, her words. But his rage. Chaos. Mistrial motion granted. Harlan freed on technicality. Bond posted by Phantom LLC. He vanished into the ether. Jet to Cayman whispers. Tom collapsed in the hall. Sobbing. We lost. Lost? Or liberated. The empire dust. But our souls scarred. Ellie called from the sitter. Mom? Is Grandpa the bad guy? The question hung. No easy yes. We fled to Milwaukee, my roots. The mechanic's garage shuttered but sturdy. Tom's job hunt via LinkedIn. Lila remanded pending charges. Ricky ghosting to parts unknown.
Nights.
We walked the lakefront. Wind off Superior whipping secrets. Regret it? Tom asked. Hand in mine. The hemlocks echo. Every sip. But the revenge? A pyre that warmed. Even in ash. Harlan's final scheme? A postcard from Nassau. Family forgives. Join us. Temptation's hook. I burned it. But the gray lingered. Who belonged now? Milwaukee's winter clamped down like a vice. Lake effect snow burying the rusted Fords in Dad's old lot. Wind howling off the breakwater like unresolved accusations. We rented a bungalow in Bayview. Clapboard siding peeling like scabs. The kind of place where neighbors wave from snowblowers and porches sag under Christmas lights strung year-round. Tom commuted to a temp gig in finance, spreadsheets for a credit union. A far cry from corner offices while I pieced freelance consulting. Housing nonprofits wary but willing. Heard about the drama. Resilient. Resilient. Code for survivor of the spectacle. Ellie thrived in the thaw, new school. Art club, where her sketches turned Hargrove ghosts into abstracts. Sold at winter markets for 20s that bought her vinyl. Max bonded with a stray tabby he named Shadow, teaching it tricks while avoiding therapy. Animals don't lie, he'd say. And damn if that didn't gut me. Lila's trial loomed via Zoom, arraignment in April. Her orange jumpsuit a bad filter. Lawyer spinning duress from Evelyn's shadow. Mama made me, she'd plead, but the car bomb stuck like tar. Ricky? Vanished. A wire transfer trace to Vancouver, Freedom's Freight. Prepaid. Harlan's ghost haunted headlines. Tycoon in exile. Hargrove seeks asylum in Bahamas. Assets frozen. But whispers of slush funds surfacing in probes. FBI's Operation Legacy bust netting cronies like dominoes. His flips chronicled in depositions. I protected my own versus. It was all her, Evelyn's madness. Blame game. Classic American deflection. Jury of public opinion split down aisles. I avoided the feeds. But Tom doom scrolled. Dad's testifying against the board. Rat out to stay afloat. The controversy peaked with Lila's plea hearing, live-streamed glitchy. Her breakdown viral. Sarah started it. The tea. The journal. She's the snake. Betrayal's boomerang. Her flip from sister-in-arms to snitch supreme. Comments erupted. Women tearing down women versus. Solidarity shattered, shocker. Vasquez called me post-hearing. She's rolling on you. Hemlock by. Yoga shop receipt in your name. Forged. But the doubt seated, cops re-interviewing the herbalist. A dreadlocked kid who shrugged. Cash sale. Lady with green eyes. Tom's faith frayed. Arguments flaring over meatloaf microwaved. Did you? Sarah? That morning. His eyes searched. Desperate for denial. I cupped his face. Truth a scalpel. I ended her suffering. Yours too. He recoiled. But pulled back, love's elastic. Stretched thin. We're poisons. All of us. The gray abyss. His complicity in my crime. Binding tighter than vows. Ellie's discovery cracked the facade, snooping Tom's laptop. Unearthing the journal scans I'd deleted. You killed Grandma, she whispered in the kitchen. Snow melting on her boots. No sugarcoating. I freed us. Her tears. From what? Monsters or family? The question philosophical dynamite. Forcing sides, Evelyn tyrant or titan. Ellie flipped inward. Silent treatment stretching days. Her art darkening to charcoals of thorns. Ricky's Hail Mary arrived via email, anonymous. But his syntax. Found peace. Wired share, clean money. $2 mill. Laundered legit through a Canadian shell. Temptations whisper, rebuild or burn. Tom advocated invest, college funds. But I saw strings. Harlan's bait. Tracing IP to reel us in. Decision controversial, accept and risk. Or reject and rot. We parked it. A digital Damocles. Spring thawed the tension. Cherry blossoms mocking our frost. A walk in Humboldt Park. Tulips pushing through mulch like hope's stubborn weeds. Tom proposed anew, kneeling in grass stains. Ring from a pawn shop. Start over. No ghosts. Romantic or reckless?
I said yes.
But the ceremony's small, courthouse. Ellie as witness. Max scattering petals from a lunch bag. Vows exchanged. In sickness. In schemes. But Harlan's scheme crescendoed. Subpoena for Tom. Material witness. Fly to Miami for deposition. Feds dangling immunity. He went. Suit pressed. Returning hollow. Dad's deal. Name names. Walk. Names including mine. The outsider orchestrated. Tom's flip. Loyalty oath. I buried her sins. Not yours. Vasquez bought it. But the PI's widow testified. Bomb's shadow lingering. Her grief a gavel. Climax at Lila's sentencing. Virtual gallery packed. Her face pixelated pale. Judge. A grizzled vet. Eyed the plea. Manslaughter. 15 to 30. Mitigating abuse. Aggravating the bomb. Lila's allocution. I was trapped. Like Ricky. Like Sarah. My name. A lifeline or noose. Sentence dropped. 20. Eligible parole in 10. She locked eyes through the screen. Sorry. Flip or facade. Post-hearing. The twist uncoiled. Ricky's real gift. USB drive. Dropped at the bungalow by courier. Files. Harlan's full ledger. Evelyn's emails plotting Ricky's disappearance. And bomb. Tom's signature on the condo's falsified permit. You knew, I breathed, confronting him on the porch. Lake freighters moaning distant. His confession, one time. To save us. Grayest yet complicit husband. Or coerced son. The fight epic. Accusations hurled like hail. Ellie intervening. Stop. You're both broken. We collapsed. Trio hug in the snow melt. Max watching from the window with shadow. Harlan's final play? A call to Tom. Come home. Legacy awaits. Temptation's siren. Empire's remnants. I decided. Testify. Full truth. Hemlock and all. Vasquez greenlit. Brave. Or suicidal. A court date set. Harlan extradited. Circus reborn. Sides polarized. Tom's protect the kids versus my and the cycle. The tension a bowstring. Arrow knocked. As summer scorched, we barbecued in the yard. Brats sizzling. Beer sweating, pretending normal. But the journals echo. No one unscathed. Revenge's bill. Coming due. Summer in Milwaukee sizzled like a grudge nursed too long. Humid air thick with lake rot and grill smoke. Cicadas droning judgment from the elms. The bungalow became bunker. Windows taped against paparazzi drones buzzing like mechanical wasps. Tom's deposition fallout rippled. Bored whispers turned to lawsuits. His 10th gig axed. Conflict of interest. He mowed lawns for cash. Calluses blooming on palms once soft as stock certificates. Flipping from exec to every man with a bitterness that soured our mornings. Ellie interned at a local gallery. Her abstracts fetching sympathy sales, buyers cooing inspirational, while eyeing me like Exhibit A. Max's therapy breakthrough. Grandpa's the villain in my game. Progress. Or projection. Lila wrote from York, letters scented with prison soap. Apologies laced with barbs. You pushed me here.
Sarah.
But thanks for the fire. Fire? Or funeral pyre? Her flip philosophical. In hell, we roast equal. Ricky's USB festered on my desk. A Pandora's drive, Tom's signature glaring like a scar. I confronted variance nightly. Expose him. And the kids fracture. Shield. And I'm hypocrite. The gray moral maze. No minotaur. Just mirrors reflecting flaws. Vasquez prepped me for trial. Plea or part, accessory after. Light sentence. If you deliver Harlan. Deliver? Judas kiss to the father-in-law. Harlan's extradition was spectacle, jet from Nassau. Marshals cuffing him on the tarmac. Cameras capturing the scowl. Witch hunt. Headlines howled. Fallen king returns. Hargrove faces wrath of exiled daughter-in-law. Public sideshow. Petitions for justice for Evelyn clashing with Free Lila rallies. Pickets outside the courthouse waving signs. Blood over lies versus truth over tycoons. Controversies carnival. Tickets free. Trial opened in September. Federal courthouse, a coliseum of oak and marble. Air-conditioned chill mocking the sweat-beating necks. Jury. 12 Midwestern Mains. Farmers and clerks eyeing the circus with polite skepticism. Prosecutors paraded ghosts, accountant's widow weeping. Ricky's clinic logs stamped involuntary. Harlan's defense. Fabrications by the Forsaken. His flips on stage. Charm offensive to the box. I built this for my family. They tore it down. Tom testified day 3. Suit thrift store crisp. Voice cracking on the stand. I signed once.
Scared.
But the frame on Sarah? Dad's call. Harlan's glare could curdle milk. But the jury leaned in, sympathy for the prodigal son. My turn loomed. Stomach churning like Lake Michigan in gale. Rehearsals with Vasquez. Own the poison. Make it mercy. Mercy? For who, Evelyn? Or me? The kids watched from home. Ellie texting live. Kick ass.
Mom.
Max. Shadow says hi. Anchors in the storm. Lila's video feed joined remotely. Her sentence commuted to house arrest pending. Deal for testimony. Mama planned Ricky's end. I forged to save her soul. Soul-saving. Or self-serving. Her eyes met mine through the screen. Alliance reborn. Tenuous. Climax crested on my testimony, sworn in. Hand on Bible that felt like fool's gold. I watched her die, I said. Voice steady as the judge's gavel. Gasps rippled. Harlan's lawyer objecting, prejudicial. Overruled. Details spilled. The tea. The whisper. The journal's justice. She betrayed me first. Crimes I carried like chains. Cross-exam vicious. You poison for payback? Admit it, murderess. I held. Avenger. For the buried. The broken. Jury faces, some nodding. Others stone, picking sides in real time. No clear villains. Harlan took the stand post-recess. Silver fox fraying. My wife was saint. This woman's poison. But crack showed, stammers on Ricky. A mistake. Youth. Mistake? Manslaughter's euphemism. His scheme finale. Tearful appeal. Spare my legacy. For the grandchildren. Emotional extortion. American as apple pie. Deliberations stretched 2 days. Hangry rumors of deadlock. Poison versus patriarch. We waited in witness rooms. Tom pacing. Me sketching napkins like Ellie, thorns entwining scales. Ellie called. Trending Sarah Strong. But some say you're psycho. Psycho? Or Phoenix? The gray. Truth subjective. Justice a jury's whim. Verdict dropped at dusk. Guilty on laundering. Fraud, not manslaughter. Hung on Evelyn. Harlan sentenced. 25. No parole. No drama, gavel. Marshals. His I'll appeal, echo hollow.
Outside.
Media scrum. Vindication? I shrugged. Reckoning. Tom hugged fierce. Kids piling on via FaceTime. Lila texted. We won.
Sorta.
But the twist twisted deeper. Post-trial leak. Tom's signature? Forged by Harlan's PA. Years back. Clean, Vasquez confirmed. Relief flooded. But the scar lingered. Doubts tattoo. Harlan's last flip from cell. Letter to Tom. Proud. Rebuild without her. Her me. The outsider eternal. We drove home under harvest moon. Leaves aflame. Belong now?
Tom asked.
I laughed. Bittersweet. We make our own. Autumn gilded Milwaukee's edges. Maples torching the boulevards. Pumpkin spice masking the rust of fallen leaves. Air crisp with the promise of endings. The bungalow felt less bunker. More hearth. Curtains untapped. Grill fired for brats and kraut. Neighbors nodding over fences without the side eye. Tom's new gig. Adjunct Prophet Marquette. Lecturing ethics in business. Irony's wink. Students scribbling notes on moral ambiguity. Ellie sold her first solo show. Gallery buzz. Raw. Resilient. Max's shadow caught a mouse. Earning hero status. Therapy now, Storytime, with drawings of caped Avengers. Lila paroled early, deals dividend. Crashing our couch. Gaunt but grinning. Fresh start? Or sequel? Her flip redemptive. NA meetings. Art therapy doodles of mandalas masking monsters. Ricky's surface sporadic. Postcards from Vancouver. Trees heal. You? Healing? A verb. Not done. We barbecued his share, donating bulk to housing co-ops, my old fire. Reignited clean. Harlan's appeals crawled. Headlines fading to footnotes. Tycoon tries again. His letters piled, pleas to Tom. Legacy calls. Tom burned them in the fire pit. Ashes swirling like confetti at a funeral we threw for the old life. No more flips, he said. Arm around me. But scars itch, nights when doubt whispers. Was it worth the wreckage? The final controversy brewed quiet. A book deal for me. Outsider's Oath. A memoir of matriarchal mayhem. Publisher's pitch. Raw. Riveting. Your voice. America's underbelly. Ellie cheered. Tell it straight. Lila. Don't whitewash me. I wrote in bursts. Laptop on the kitchen table. Coffee steaming. Words flowing like the Menominee River. Hooks of hemlock. Grays of grudge. Twists of tainted blood. Controversial drafts. No heroes. Just humans clawing light. Launch party small Bayview bar. Craft IPAs and cheese curds. Locals toasting. To Sarah Belanger. Tom read an excerpt. Voice steady. She said, I'd never fit. But fitting's overrated. Breaking in? That's the art. Laughter rippled. But my toast cut deep. To the betrayed, who bear. Then burn. Ellie raised her soda. And rebuild. The twist landed post-publication. Royalties check. Fat as forgiveness. But attached note from a lawyer. Harlan's estate. Inheritance clause. Evelyn's codicil flipped. To the one who endures. Endures?
Me.
$5 mill. Clean transfer. Her last scheme. Or sly absolution. Harlan. Raging from cell. Which stole my throne. But the will ironclad. Judge's seal. We debated dawns. Donate. Invest. Or indulge. Decision democratic. Kids voted college and cats. Lila. A halfway house, Tom. A cabin up north.
Me?
Seed money for a nonprofit. Belong house. Shelters for scapegoats. Frames flipped to freedom. Groundbreaking spring. Dirt under nails. Ellie wielding the shovel. No more outsiders. Years blurred. Ellie to RSD. Max Robotics, Wiz. Lila sober sponsor. Ricky visits with a flannel-clad girlfriend.
Tom and I.
Silver threading temples. Walks turning to holds. Whispers to wonders. Regret? The hemlock's haze, not the act. The cost. Cost. Family fractured, but reforged stronger seams. Harlan died in 29, heart attack. Poetic echo, unmourned but buried proper. Plot empty beside Evelyn's. His obituary spun saintly, but we knew, schemer to dust. Lila's scattered petals, thorns stripped. Rest. You bastard. Ending? No tidy bow. Happy tinged tragic. We belonged. Earned in blood and balm. But the gray lingers, who's right in revenge's rearview. Debate fodder for book clubs. Our scar-shared saga. As snow dusts again, I sip tea, chamomile. Safe, and think, the hook that shocked, it freed. And that's the American rub, freedom's flavor. Bitter as justice.